There's a bunch of crazy stories written by the Brothers Grimm. And now you're gonna learn all about them, listening to the Brothers Grimm.
I was reminded the other day of a fantastic podcast. I don't do a whole lot of podcasts, but I was reminded of this amazing one called My Dad Wrote a Porno. And it is this regular old bloke in England, and his retiree dad, normal guy, decided that he was just going to start writing erotic fiction. And so what does one do when one's father starts to write erotic fiction but get a few of your friends together and record a podcast about it, breaking it down chapter by chapter. And it is, at least the first season was hilarious. I seem to recall it trailed off a little in season 2 when they got into the second book. But it's definitely recommended.
I'll check it out. I myself, during the pandemic, I don't know if I told you this. I don't think I told anyone this.
Wrote a porno?
But I wrote some erotic fiction.
Really?
Yes. It was a short collection of 4 stories. Called Any Port in a Storm.
Fantastic metaphor.
But, it doesn't matter. Well, I'm sure at some point we'll be looking for filler. talk all about that.
You may not be the only person to write erotic fiction during the pandemic.
I don't think so. I don't think I am. But I digress. My name is Philippe.
And my name is Mike.
And we are 2 friends who met a long time ago in the far off land of Northampton, Massachusetts, while we were both attending the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. And there's more on why we met in Northampton instead of Amherst in a little bit. I am a new parent, and as my kid has no idea what I'm reading to him, but likes my voice, I bought a gorgeous edition of Grimm's. And I started reading Grimm's to the kid because he likes my voice. And you know what I was reading first was I bought a collection, little golden books,
mm-hmm.
and one, Pokey Little Puppy and things like that. I hated it. We read through it twice. It took so little time, and I was so bored, and I realized I needed something better. So here we are.
Yeah, my kids who are older, they grew up on Dora the Explorer books, and that's bonkers for different reasons.
We have a friend that wrote a kid's book or 2.
Pop Tropica.
Anyways, okay, so that's the backstory of us, and now to the housekeeping. Something we mostly cut from last week is talking about what the Arne-Thompson Index is.
Oh, right.
I mention it. The Arne-Thompson Index is an index for people who study folklore. It basically separates types of stories into types. So if the Frog Prince or Faithful Henry or Hourly, if that specific one is a species, then the ATU number would be one step up, which would be the genus or family.
Something like that.
King Phil came over for great sushi. There's like kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. So it's one up. So it separates the stories into types of stories.
How did I make it to 46 without that mnemonic?
How did you not know that one?
I don't know.
How did you remember kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species?
I didn't. I somehow made it through biology without memorizing that longer than I needed to for a test.
Yeah, I guess that's one question on one test. You don't need it. Okay.
Clearly not using it now.
Yeah. Lastly, the final thing is for cleanup is I cut any discussions about us being roommates from story 1, because this week is the first story we have with wacky roommates who decide to keep house together. And Grimm's is filled with just so much of this nonsense.
Oh, this keeps going?
Oh, it's not just cat and mouse, or whoever. There's one. I think it's like the funniest one I've seen so far. I'm only up to story 30 or so. It's like a duck, a fox, and a sausage, an anthropomorphic sausage.
Nice.
We'll get to it, but it's awesome.
That sounds like a logic puzzle. Like you
Yeah,
gotta
no, I know.
you gotta get them across the river and you have a rowboat.
They don't do it well because the sausage does get et.
I'm sensing a theme here.
There's a big old theme for if you do not pick your roommates correctly, and maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit once we get to the moral.
It's a very succinct moral.
Yeah.
So, cat and mouse in partnership. Fairly straightforward. The idea is that there's a cat and there's a mouse, and after some back and forth, they decide to live together. They've become friends against all laws of nature, and they decide they're gonna, as you said, keep house together. With winter approaching, they decide that they should buy a pot of fat, which I guess is what one did in the time.
Yeah, like you do.
For some rations to get them through when things get lean. And they store it at the local church, which they figured would be the safest place. Who's going to steal from a church, right?
I've always found churches to be quite safe.
I actually find churches to be a fantastic place to steal.
They just leave the holy water lying around.
That's true. So they buy a pot of fat. They go in on it together. They buy a pot of fat and they store it at the church. And not long after, this is where we start to see the nature of the cat. The cat is just can't stop thinking about this fat. So tells the mouse that her cousin had a baby and that she has been asked to be the godmother and attend the christening. And says, you stay here for the day. I'm gonna go out to this christening and I'll be back. And makes haste for the church and licks the whole top of the fat right off the pot. And then spends the day lounging around. And she comes home late. And when the mouse asks her what the child was named, she replies, "Top off." The mouse thinks this is strange. And then, so this repeats. Unsurprisingly, the cat can't help thinking about that fat. It's not even winter yet. Can't help thinking about that pot of fat. Makes up a story about another friend who had a baby, and she's been asked to be the godmother and attend the christening. So she hies off for the day. Gets through half of the pot of fat. Again, spends the day lounging around. Comes home late. The mouse inquires as to what the child was named, and the cat repeats. The cat says, "Half done," and the mouse thinks this is quite odd as well.
Can I interject?
Oh, please.
Real quick. It's what the mouse says after the second time is, and this is the line that I thought was very funny. Well, it's like, what? Well, no way is that in the name or is that name in the calendar of saints?
Yeah.
Which
the dialogue in this is very nicely written.
Yeah, I like the calendar of saints, and I can talk more about that later. I haven't.
Yeah.
But okay, so the mouse is flabbergasted, and
yeah, exactly. And then sure enough, there's the third time, and the mouse is at this point, the mouse is like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure it's going to be named something ridiculous." And sure enough, she goes and finishes the pot of fat. Comes back late in the day. Asks what the child was named, and the cat replies, "All gone." And of course, the mouse, again flabbergasted. And so the pot of fat is gone. Winter starts to set in, and they get low on food. So the mouse suggests they go out and hit up that pot of fat, and they get there, and sure enough, it's empty. Still in the same place, but it's empty. And the mouse immediately knows what's been happening. And while the mouse is berating the cat, saying, "I knew all along, blah, 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 blah," the cat threatens to eat the mouse if she says another word. And unfortunately for her, those words are already coming out of her mouth, and the cat just gobbles her right up. And the story ends with the moral, and that is the way of the world.
So okay, delightful story, and as you're getting more into it, this is one of the simpler wacky tag teams that are tag teams together. Because it gets a lot weirder, but quality gaslighting from the cat.
Oh yes,
like the whole time. And I also like the first time the cat or the mouse is like, "That's a weird name," and the cat's like, "Shut up, you're fucking god kid's named Crumb Stealer, so I wouldn't even, that's not in the calendar of saints either."
Crumb Stealers, I like that one.
Thank you for the summary. It's a short story. It's one of the shorter ones. And this was like, what, a page?
Yeah, page and a half.
Page and a half, yeah. What do you think? I've got a couple ideas for morals. That's the way of the world, I guess. I mean, they kind of put that on themselves, but I have some other ideas.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of a moral. I mean, it's basically the weak are fucked,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I don't know. Maybe the weak are fucked.
Maybe I'm being too simplistic.
It's funny though, maybe not. But so the story type that the scholars put this in is Arn Thompson type 15. So early, one of the first types, and the story type name is called "Stealing Your Partner's Butter," and all of it is two animals move in together, but they're not two of the same animals. Let's see, it'll be like a wolf and a cat if it's not, you know what I mean, like, or a wolf and a small dog or whatever it is. But like it's just there's something like much bigger, stronger.
There's a power difference.
There's a power difference.
Yeah.
So I had a couple ideas for moles. The easy read is if you're going to be roommates with someone, make sure it's someone you trust. Yeah, like someone you have to trust someone's nature, which is what you're saying. Don't move in with cats. And there might be, from the Brothers Grimm's perspective, they were all in the area of what is now Germany, but what was I think occupied at that point by France. And so it might just be like, oh, these French types, they come in here, they roll up, and and then like they'll say that they want to be friends with you, and then they'll steal all of your fat.
So a woe is me reflection of the times.
I thought maybe. I'm not sure. Another moral, possibly, don't trust cats, because I have two cats, and I would not trust either of them with even the smallest portion of my life.
Yeah, cats are universally the worst.
And then lastly, I guess, don't trust anyone maybe if they name their kid something fucking stupid. Who's that lady? I don't know if she's an anti-vaxxer. She was like a movie star or something, and now she sells like all natural.
The company would be Gloop, I believe. And you would be referring to Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow, okay.
Who named her child Apple, I believe.
Apple. Yeah, and I don't even. She's not the only one that's named her kid something stupid.
No,
and
Prince and Blanket in Paris.
I would say those poor kids, but actually, you know what? Fuck it. It's not. I'm not saying money solves everything, but
right.
I got picked on a bit. I fought back, so it wasn't that bad. But I got made fun of a bit as a kid, and I think that if I had $50 million, it would have been easier.
You might also have been more popular.
Yeah, someone might have wanted to come over and hang out in not my house I lived in beautiful Lakeville, Massachusetts, but to the mansion by the pool. All right, anyways, yes, so that's story type number 15. The story is published in the first edition. Also, usually story number 2. Nothing almost has changed in the last 200 years. Did you have any notes yourself?
I've got a few things. I like the language in this story. It's a simple story, but there are a lot of little gems, little wording choices that I think reflect the relationship between the cat and the mouse, and the personality of the cat herself, in subtle ways that you don't pick up on until the second or third reading. In the very first sentence, it's describing their relationship and how they came to be housemates. And the wording is, "At length the mouse agreed," which immediately you realize like the cat's been pushing for this and belaboring the point until finally the mouse gives in. It's the cat's idea to buy the pot of fat. So I probably not all planned out from the beginning. This cat seems impulsive and kind of dumb.
Which, if you have ever owned a cat.
So yeah, that's sort of some of the interesting things in the setup that I thought were interesting to sort of lay out what the cat is like. I think that the cat detailing what each of the kittens that was born looks like was unnecessary detail for the cat. I mean, she doesn't need to sell the story to the mouse. After the second one, the mouse doesn't believe any of it anyway. But she goes on about, this one was born with a white ring around its neck, and I must attend. This one is all black except for white paws.
So she's got it's the cat's nature. I do agree. The language. There's two things I liked a lot. And this one's just interesting. I don't know what this says about anything, but a certain cat, and this is the start of the story. A certain cat had made the acquaintance of a mouse and had said so much to her about the great love and friendship she felt for her, that at length the mouse agreed that they should live and keep house together, so like they do love each other to start. And then the cat's nature just gets it. I know too, this line I liked. The cat gets angry and says, "You sit at home," said the cat, "in your dark gray fur coat and your long tail, and are filled with fancies because you don't go out in the daytime." And I thought like very good gaslighting.
Yeah, that is textbook, which is funny to see this, that far back. We like to think we invented it in our generation, but we just gave it a name.
We haven't invented anything. Like
that is true.
Parents in the year zero were talking to their kids about, oh, you're going through puberty. All right, well, now you're going to bleed once a month for until you're like 55.
You're gonna be great at this parenting thing. One thing we did invent as an aside, my kids constantly feel like they invented all different kinds of internet slang, like cool spelled KEWL, and it goes on. And I distinctly remember when we invented that stuff, and yeah, they don't believe me, so it doesn't matter.
That's fine. Did people in the 60s, before there was an internet, did they invent that stuff too? I mean, there was comics spelled COMIX.
True.
Harry Crumb?
Yes, Crumb.
Crumb, yeah. I think he was spelling shit like that, like KEWL.
Yeah, as soon as I said it, I realized it's probably we probably didn't invent that either.
Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly there was a point where someone invented the word cool.
The cat has these nuggets of wisdom while being a glutton that are fascinating as well. One is, nothing ever seems so good as what one keeps to oneself.
Okay.
Which I totally buy. I don't want to share the fudge bars I have in the freezer.
With a bunch of ungrateful kids that think that they invented the word cool.
The other is, when everything is eaten up, one has some peace. Which I can see that's as long as that pot of fat is sitting there uneaten, it's like it's a mental to do that you just haven't crossed off.
If I had cigarettes in this house, I would smoke them. I think. I mean, I haven't smoked now in like a year, a little over a year. I guess it was around New Year's, so a year and 3 months.
Yeah.
But you know me, I've been over my life on again, off again smoker. Yep. I stopped smoking for a few years, and then I traditionally started again. I hope now that the kid is here that I won't start up again, but I've said that every year since I was 16. I first quit, and then went to UMass and met a bunch of smokers.
Sorry.
That's okay. We could talk about how we used to be roommates. I don't know if we can, if I could put this in earlier in the thing.
Yeah, it's a wacky roommate story, certainly.
It is. It was you and I and Rachel, who does not talk to me anymore.
But that's okay. A shame.
It is a shame. It's funny. She and I dated for like a year, but we didn't once say we were dating. We were each other's primary people without ever having said that was what was happening. So we dated the entire time we lived in Florence for the most part. I say we dated. We never said we were boyfriend and girlfriend, but that was obviously what was happening.
Obviously.
She and I later talked about it, but yes, it was. I mean, we were certainly sleeping together. We were living together. Technically.
Well, you and I were living together too.
Yeah, but I wasn't having sex with you. I was. You never invited me into your bed with whoever you were dating at the time, which I think was Heather.
That would be accurate. Right. Yeah.
Anyways, Rachel was there. This is all going to get cut. Rachel was there, and it had to have been Tyler. Yeah, yep. That was maybe the first time I lived with Tyler. And then we got in trouble. I was thinking about this the other day. Tyler and I one time stuck speakers all around the neighborhood. And
not around the neighborhood so much as right outside the windows of our house, like out in the yard.
We ran them down the road a little bit. I think we were putting them in bushes. Maybe it never left the property, but And then one Sunday morning at like 6 a.m, played Chopin
And narrated it over a
and
microphone.
narrated it. It was so loud, and everyone got so mad at us, and they weren't happy with us anyways.
No, nobody on that street liked us.
No one liked us. There was the neighbors, the cross the street neighbors, who had a 17-year-old that came to one of our parties once. And then they got really mad at us, and I was like, who are you people? Like, she went over to your party. I'm like, I don't remember ever seeing her. But considering how much backwater punch we were drinking at the time, it's not surprising that I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember this at all.
Oh yeah, no, that happened. The neighbors, then there was a big thing. You wanted to send apology letters.
I wanted you to send apology letters.
You wanted me to send apology letters. Tyler was dead set against the idea. So I told Tyler, there's no way in hell I'm going to do that. I'll just tell Johnson that I did it. And then I told you, I'll go do that, but I'm not going to tell Tyler that I'm doing it. That way the neighbors, they'll get their apology letters, but Tyler can stand on the high ground that he believes is the high ground. And I did it. I sent the letters to everyone. Maybe I didn't tell you that I was going to tell Tyler the lie.
The tangled webs that we weave.
The tangled, yeah. Then everyone, we all got into a big fight. Because that was the year that I failed out of school. So it had to be 98, because I got mono.
And died in the hallway.
And died in the hall, or almost died in the hallway, and everyone walked over me except for you, who eventually, after 2 hours, was like, Phil, are you okay? And I had been passed out.
I think it was more than 2 hours.
I couldn't move. I know that.
I seem to recall it was like 24 hours.
Florence was a weird roommate situation, but
that it was.
But ties into this. So okay, that is Grimm's story number 2, Cat and Mouse in Partnership. The end.
Sorry, I just totally spoke over that.
No, that's okay. I think we both had a lot of that in the last podcast. I'm trying not to speak over you this time.
Same.
Yeah.
I've screwed up a couple times, but no, I just you were trying to do an official bump, and I just noodled over it.
That's fine. Noodle away, my friend. And then we shall take the noodles and we shall put the noodles into the soup.